Welcome back to Rewiring Health. I'm your host, Kelly Kessler, and I'm so grateful you're here. So, there are two types of people when it comes to self care, and I've found this in so many women I've worked with, and I've experienced this in my life as well. That you are either the person that tries to do everything to a T. You learn as much as you can, you take on information after information, and then you try to implement it, and you bombard your system by trying to get everything done and do all the things that you, quote, should be doing. And then there's the other person that feels so overwhelmed by everything that you think you should be doing that they basically go into shutdown mode. And the first thing that gets sacrificed is that self-care. And so think about yourself. Which one of these do you tend to fit into? Do you find that you are just going full force ahead, trying to change your diet, your exercise, implementing every strategy that you're seeing online, and feeling like you can't even keep up with all the changes and all the things that are suggested? Or are you someone that sees all that and feels like, when? When is the time? How do I even start this? How do I even find 5 minutes in my day to even do any of this? And then you kind of get into the shutdown mode because it feels like no matter what you do, it would never be enough because there's so many things that you're being bombarded with as far as what you should be doing each day. Now, whether you're the person who is going full force and trying to tackle everything, or you're the one who's shutting down, there's a commonality between both of those. And what that is that you are relinquishing your power outside yourself. You are giving away your authority. You are subconsciously saying to yourself that someone outside of me knows better than me. And I have to essentially listen to all those suggestions and try to implement it into my life. And while all those suggestions could be very sound and they may be super beneficial for you, the thing that is often missed is that disconnect between ourselves and ourselves. We do not filter that information through what is right for us. So even though the information could be very beneficial and really help us in many ways, if we are not aware of what we need, if we don't know ourselves well enough, if we are not connected with ourselves, if we're not in tune with our bodies, it can be very easy to get bombarded with all the things that we think we should be putting into our lives. And that goes for both types of people, the ones that feel like they have to do everything because they see all the things outside themselves and think that every single one of those must apply to me. And if I just do one more thing, then I'll feel better. If I just do this, then that'll be the answer. If I just add this to my routine, then I'll feel right. And it often just leaves us again feeling hollow. Like now we're doing all this, we're putting all the effort in, and we're still not really noticing those shifts and changes within ourselves. And the same also applies for the person who feels shut down, feels overwhelmed, just paralyzed by everything. Because now you're seeing all these messages of all these things you should be applying in your life, and you then feel like shameful. Like, I'm not doing this. I know I'm not doing what I should be doing. And then it just perpetuates that cycle of that shutdown. Like, I don't have time. I don't know how to do this. I know I should be doing this. I don't feel good about myself because I'm not doing this. And yet I'm still in this cycle of not feeling good. And so both situations are really, really tough to be in because they become very cyclical. You're either, again, shaming yourself for not doing enough, or even for the person who's doing a lot, you're maybe shaming yourself for not implementing 100% of it or not doing all the things that you think you should be doing or not having this extensive routine that is recommended to you. And then now we are all living in this energy of shame. Another energy that comes up in this is that energy of fear. If I don't do this, then I will never feel free. Then I'll never feel fulfilled. Then I will always be dealing with the impacts of the stress in my life. And so we then either act, again, that one person who's doing everything, we act out of that fear and try to decrease that fear by just doing all the things, but really it's just being fueled by the fear. Or we're that person that's in shutdown mode that is fueled by the fear, but is so consumed by it that we can't act in that moment. But again, what is the energy behind that? It's that fear. So when you look at the energies behind each of these types, It's that shame, it's that fear. It can feel like guilt, like I didn't do what I knew I was supposed to be doing. And all of those are those low energy emotions. These low energy emotions just keep us stuck in these cycles. And they never allow us to ever feel free because you could never feel free and you're in these low energies. You're just doing all the things that you think you should be doing to try to quiet those voices down in your head, trying to suppress those energies that keep bubbling up every time you feel like you're not doing enough. And so I share this with you because if you are that person who's just overdoing it, trying to get everything in, trying to listen to every suggestion, or you're the person that feels shut down, like you're not even able to get anything in, and you know you should be doing more, but you're just not doing it because you feel so paralyzed by all the things that you should be doing. I want you to just look inside yourself in the most compassionate, loving way and say, what is the energy behind this? What is the driving force? Is it shame? Is it guilt? Is it fear? Is it trying to suppress all those energies so you don't have to really feel them? Because a lot of times it's easier just to kind of go through the motions of things and relinquish our power outside of ourselves than to feel and kind of face some of those emotions that keep bubbling up within us. And so I share that because there's such a different way we can approach this where we don't feel like we're in these vicious cycles of doing all the things or feeling so paralyzed and then doing nothing. And really what that is that energy of like joy. What do I want to feel? How could I bring a little more joy into my life? And this could feel like such a completely foreign concept because if you've been living off of fear, shame, and guilt, the idea of joy and even coming up with anything that feels joyful could be really, really challenging. And so, something I want you to ask yourself whenever you're making a choice to implement something into your life is go through this and say to yourself, I prefer to do X, Y, and Z, whatever that is. I prefer to, and then just see what comes up. So that phrase just there is such a shift versus I should be doing that. You can see the energy behind it. That should is that fear based, shame based, guilt based, that you have this role to play and you got to keep fitting into this role. Versus when you say, I prefer to, it allows you to open up to some possibilities of like what feels right in my body. What would I like to do in this moment? If I took all the shoulds away and all the responsibilities, what would I actually choose in this moment to do? And then allow yourself to explore that. Maybe it's just going for a walk outside. Maybe it's just sitting quietly for a moment and just looking at the sunset. Maybe it's getting a drink of water. Maybe it's just taking a deep breath, closing your eyes for a minute and just having a moment of calm, whatever it is. So when you can start to say, I prefer to do things, now that starts to shift the energy in you. And that energy is that higher energy vibrations. And now you can start to tune into yourself and really connect to your emotional body. So much of what we do is dictated by our minds and all the things that replay in our minds, the stories that we have. And that's where we get stuck in these patterns of all or nothing. But if we can tune into our body and say, what do I prefer in this moment? What do I want? What is my desire in this moment? What feels good to me? What would make me feel lighter in this moment? Now we're tuning into ourselves and we're taking all the recommendations and suggestions and now we're allowing ourselves to be the filter of those. We're saying, okay, these are all the things that would be beneficial, but what's beneficial to me in this moment? What lights me up? What helps me feel lighter? What gives me a little bit more joy in this moment? And then now we are allowing ourselves to be our own inner authority and not relinquishing that to everybody and everything and every suggestion and every piece of information outside ourselves. We can take that information and then filter it through ourselves and know what's right for us in that moment. And as you start to build on this, it becomes much easier. So when you first do this, it feels so foreign because this is something new. But each little step that you take, and every time you do this and say, I prefer, and you're choosing that energy of lightness and freedom and fulfillment, then it becomes easier to notice what's right for you and what's maybe right for someone else. that's not right for you. And now you take back that power to recognize and filter out all the stimulus of the world and know that this is in alignment with me. And that's all that matters. So I hope this helps, and I hope this allows you to feel more free in the choices that you're making and allow you to integrate self-care in a way that doesn't feel so daunting. It doesn't feel like you're never doing enough. If you found benefit in this, share it with a friend and also subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a new episode each week. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for you.